Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Paladins Minor League. But I know you don't want to be here because what you just saw is where you want to be right now. It's Hyra's Expo, but it doesn't happen until later in the year. So the only way to make sure you're going to be there in the future is to grab those tickets. Make sure to check those out and grab them right now. That way you have your spot lined up, and it'll be a lot of fun. Trust me. It's never not been, let's put it that way. Joined on the desk with me is my man Pretty Hair and Rain Day here hosting for our second set of the day. Some more PML action transitioning this time to North America. And, you know, we've got Sanguine starting up. We'll give some words on that. And, of course, it's special to be able to be with the Paladins minor league correspondent.
That's right.
For this match.
You could say I was built for this match.
I mean, this is kind of like dream roll.
So let me just take these reins.
Okay, yeah. I mean, hey, listen.
Sanguine Esports.
I don't want to step on your toes.
Well, it was a good start to the phase for Sanguine Esports. Had a rebrand. Things are looooking up. You got to say.
That's just say, Traveler.
What more could you ask for? Well,
a little bit of a bumpy
nation of power. Hey.
God, okay.
Right. Yeah. That's a bump in the road. That's what Sanguine hit.
Where are we going?
They hit one of those. We're going.
Is this ever gonna smooth?
We're going to MSI.
Okay. All right. Are Sanguine there? What's in the back?
They will be.
Wow.
They almost got brought down to second seed here. Nation of Power steps up, beats the Bully last week. 5-game set. It was a banger. As big of a banger as the minor league can be, but this team, I think, they're pretty much unstoppable when you look at this #1 seed versus #4 seed.
Yeah, it's a lineup that is equipped to do some damage. Some of these guys have also done it at LAN, and they've also represented North America in the PGS in many ways. Niju being the one that comes on top of my mind. I think this is going to be a very, run-of-the-mill kind of day. But Zenith, let's talk a little bit about them. They've got an opportunity to maybe give us some interesting matches. I think Toa has been somebody who's so funny, coming from the name of Alex Zombie, where we all just we played against him so much growing in Paladins, and now the name change, the new team, the Bork change as well, which was a lot of drama in it. How have you felt about him this season?
I think he's definitely looked good. I think this squad is a squad that's already looking towards that next phase, though. They're making some role swaps. They're adding new players. Ozone's moving to tank. They're doing all these things, not really trying to win this phase. They've already kind of moved their gaze. And I think that's fine for them, and I think that's not what's going to get them the win here today over Sanguine, but I think it's the right move for this squad in the long run.
Yeah.
And the right move for a squad that wants to be a top contender in the future.
Well, a lot of upside to these boys here, and we're going to get this game started pretty soon. One of those guys you're looking at in Stigma, they'll be up next as they play Bork. But right now, let's take a look at these bands. Ice Mines, Jaguar Falls, Frozen Guard, Fish Market means Timber Mill still available. We rarely run to those oddities in a best of 5, especially when one's heavily sided towards another team, but we'll have to see here. Sanguine and Zenith now getting into the ban phase. It's the Torvald, so no solo point tank Torvald again.
Not here. Not now. Maybe at some point.
It's a beautiful time.
More standard bans coming out so far. We'll have to see as Sanguine step their toes into this set. How they'll approach today, right? You can go for the sour team approach, but you could just, if you're Sanguine, handle your business, get your 3-map victory, and move on with your day.
And I think that's what Sanguine will try to do. Notably, not a lot of Atlas at all. And no Atlas in our first couple of games. Atlas now, first pick for Sanguine. That's going to be a good test of strength. Khan as well. And Eevee here, who seems to be clearly favored in minor league in PPL as a top 2, 3, 4
I will
pick.
fight to protect the
One of the
sanctity
only
of the
flanks
wild.
that can do it that way. You see maybe a super flavor Andro, Sky in last set, but Eevee really is that mainstay in the flank class for the time being. And Sanguine will get the Inara Genos. This is Serpent Beach, so no vertical mobility drafted thus far. Zenith have all the cards on that front.
And
I just thought you lads can
don't forget about Summon Inara here, okay? That's a viable strategy.
You're right, I am forgetting.
It's about as a viable strategy as Cardio Victor right now.
Space Jam Genos off of the wall.
There you go. Atlas.
An oversight, to be sure.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the most deadly vertically mobile flanking duo in the game. Inara Genos, right?
Because you see it coming, but there's just nothing you can do.
You can't stop it. These two just flying at you, just in slow, like very slow. You're like, the game Am I dropping frames? They're just...
Well, they do have Drogos Leon. Drogos can
Imposing.
get the up-down. I'm curious to see how Leon performs, though, because she was the one that received some nerfs. So when we get into game, I'd love to take a look at her loadout and just see what are the adjustments that are being made. She was hit on cooldown, really the mainstay style that she was playing. I don't know if that'll be enough to force her to a different style of play, different talent loadout, but very curious to see what she ends up with.
Well, Nick, that's not your call. Okay, I know you're the minor league correspondent, but we got to leave that to our spectators.
I'll stay in my lane.
All right? Jeez. Give the guy an inch, takes a mile. My goodness gracious.
The lane feels
It's time to go
smaller
down
every
to our casters here. Dave and Gore, what do you have for us getting this game started?
Hello, Dave and Gore, still down here in the caster booth. Nick,
Hello.
overstepping his bounds, I think, a little bit. He thinks as the PML correspondent, he can just do whatever he wants.
I know. I can't believe you'd have the gall
The
to ask for a
audacity.
Leon loadout. But hey, you know what I'd like to see? A Leon loadout.
That's true. You know what? I don't know why it came to me. I was just sitting there thinking, maybe let's take a look at the Leon loadout and then see how
Dave,
things look. I don't know what it was.
That's some real foresight. I think I can
Captain
only call
Foresight.
it as divine inspiration. I
Going
saw the
precision.
beam come down to be able to come through. I guess I have to look at it if we're actually going to be able to come through. Switches out for superiority, increasing your ammo count by 5. What talent are we running here for the Leon?
it was
as well?
the,
'Cause that's going to be the biggest question. But it's
precision,
going to be precision, yeah. So they've changed talents, they've changed loadouts completely for the different playstyle. But if you notice, it's going to be that every consecutive shot you're going to hit is going to stack up your damage. So that extra 5 shots, if you are hitting them, you're going to be hitting 25% harder than normal.
Edgem's a guy I think that you can count on hitting his shots and getting the full benefit of the talent and of that card as well. Also, Victor, a second time here in the minor league. Not something we normally see.
Nope.
Are the cardio buffs good enough to bring him back into the Metagore?
I'm going to say, cardio is nutty. It doesn't seem like he's
It didn't
running
look like
here,
it.
though.
Oh,
Nope.
there it is.
Going to be running around, so I mean, I'm going to tell you, it's some ridiculous healing numbers that he's going to be putting out.
Do you have to be out of combat? I'm trying to. Maybe you do. I don't
That's a
know.
good question. I can't even think about it. I can't remember how the
I was
talent
trying to. I was trying to
be
see.
honest with you. I just
was
thought it was
trying
when you were
to see
sprinting.
I was trying to see the healing coming through. Edgem though, that's a clean double on the Leon, hitting all of his shots, exactly what he needs to do. And look at that extra damage onto Ozone, having to back off, chunk away. Evan and I were playing Rocket Arena this weekend and went up against Ozone, and it was some Rocket match, and it was a banger of a game. We went into overtime. Ozone ended up winning, but it was a fun one. It was funny running into him in the game, needless to say.
Well,
Zenith though,
based on the two teams that are playing right now, the fact that our 99% is really big, but I think what you just said might be a unique statement, is Ozone ended up winning. I'm not sure we're going to see a lot of that today. Not really a slight against him,
No.
and not even a slight against Zenith. They're actually playing this pretty amazingly overall.
Yeah, they are.
But they are still being corralled around. They just have to stand on the point, and they
They
actually
do it.
capped it.
there you go, Zenith. That's a way to start off your day. Win the first point of the set. Lots of people are counting him out. Sanguine on the back foot to start things off here. Leon and Drogo's good for top damage. The Ice Storm as well is going to come in, chunk a little bit out, but still, yet again, it's Zenith with the 2 kills in this one. The payload's moving forward, and they've started off very, very well here, Gore.
I actually like the way that it comes through, because the one thing about Sanguine is there were enough champions, I guess with some of the changes coming into this patch that they're playing on, that you are seeing a little bit of I want to say playing grounds coming through. Leon, one of the biggest things that she had going for her prior to this patch is cooldown resets with a self-heal on top of it that would continually deal damage, 800 plus that you would be able to hit onto multiple targets. It's just not something that you're going to be able to do anymore, really.
Right.
You can still get some of the resets,
Almost.
some of the healing, but it's not going to be up anywhere near as often, and it's not going to hit anywhere near as hard because of that. And so you're looking at right now the switch to a precision playstyle, which I guess overall probably is going to be more DPS. As you see the shots do more damage the more he hits in a row. But that's going to be the issue, is the consistency key of that. You can't afford to miss a shot. And when you do, it's almost like resetting your damage.
You'd say it's probably a higher execution requirement sort
Definitely.
of play style, because you have to really be accurate. I mean, you're only really benefiting the more shots you hit. So weaving in a few misses in there really chugs away. Oh my, Neo benefits from some low health bars there. A double now for the Drogo. Sanguine drawing a line in the sand, telling Zenith you're not going to pass. Ozone's going to be the next to go down once that shield expires. Setback gets blocked off by the shield. Edgem gets that kill. And that's the Sanguine I expected to see coming into this game.
Yeah.
Granted, they're on defense, so they're kind of dictating the pacing of some of these fights, but Zenith came out very fast, very strong. Victor adding some interesting into the mix as well.
And as we saw, and actually right there is a good example, burst mode. So like not even running
So it is burst mode,
what
right.
you're looking for, I guess. Like typically, I want to say there are just 3 styles of Victor play, right? Burst mode is going to be more precision based, very much like a Leon, very much like a Cassie, where it's just hit your shots. There's not like you have the grenade for supplementary damage, but it's not really this crazy burst that you have if you're running one of his other talents, which increases the range of the explosion of your grenade. And then of course we've been talking about cardio and how it got some pretty ridiculous busts being able to come through.
Well, that shows that people are going to be willing,
To
at
play
least
whatever.
now, they're playing Victor without the card. I mean, without playing on the newly buffed talent. Playing burst mode in this case. 3-2-1 is the slash line. Good for about mid-range of damage in the game as well. Still Edgem and Neo for top damage in this one, though. 5 ultimates apiece going into this second mid-fight. 6-1 on Edgem. I mean, that's holding that high ground. I think Sanguine need to be able to capture that high ground and then allow Edgem to push forward and get some more of his damage in. They just really never had control of that last point fight, and Zenith played it well.
And it's actually one of these interesting areas where, again, the talent and the choices make it kind of seem like it's the payoff is you hit all of your shots, and that's where things are going to be doing really well. But you only need to hit 5 to get the buff, and when you have 13 in your clip, and admittedly you're going to be spamming the shots anyway, like you're probably going to get it, and for high ground control, you can see yourself more often than not kind of in control of a fight.
This is sort of how it's working here. The Exiles are going to be good. Get a couple members out. 4 seconds apiece on those. Only 2 of them hitting. A good setback on a Mage Monkey. No health difference really, but the positioning sets him up nicely for a kill. Flame Effects is going to be the one to set it up for himself. Alley-oops it right on in the basket after teeing it up. And now Sanguine are back in control of the point, only using the Exile, only using Seismic Crash. Meanwhile, Zenith have used all 5 of their ultimates. This is going to be tough for them to retake.
And the one thing I'm loving right now about Zenith is the way they drafted this, the way they're approaching the fight. They are playing incredibly strong. The issue is that Sanguine are just playing a little bit ahead of the game for them. That Dragon Punch not going to be able to connect, and that honestly might open up a little bit more room, but unfortunately for Mage Monkey, he's just kind of one step too far forward. Yeah,
it was tough. I mean, he missed the Dragon Punch, but ended up hitting a really big salvo, which chunked a lot of damage away. So he didn't get the kill, but he set it up for the rest of his team to come through. Ozone, the last member standing here on the point. Overtime is going to expire, and Sanguine are going to win mid-fight number 2 and get this payload moving forward. Enlightenment not used. Second round of ultimates, though, for Zenith. So while they lose the point, their ultimates were the first to recharge, so they'll have them first on this defense. Although Sanguine not far behind here. High ground control, always important on this map, and Zenith sort of inherits it, just walking out of their base in this case, so a bit of an uphill battle here for Sanguine.
And I think the big thing to look at, if Zenith is pushing, so if you go back around, Zenith has an advantage to be able to push a little harder just because Eevee can get up onto the high ground, kind of create some equilibrium, take that away from Sanguine.
Right.
Sanguine Drogos can get up there, but whether or not he does it in a fashionable stance, I should call it. Like, if he can get up there and make a huge play to take control of it, is going to remain to be seen, because it's a lot harder to do, I think, on him to make that individual play than on an Eevee.
No, it definitely does seem that way, and here's the verticality battle going on between Drogos and Eevee. Toa, in the meantime, is going to be fighting from the ground, while Drogos, the Worm Jets for Neo, are going to be flying high right now. Neither one of them really hitting too many shots. Granted, that's a hard battle to be in. Two very sneaky champions. Very difficult to hit those shots in that case, but a little bit of zoning, if nothing else, from both of them, just kind of keeping them out of the fight. For one team or the other. Health bar's a bit lower on Zenith's side here. Neo's now able just to free fire from up top. He spots Toa out. Oh, he's chunking so much damage. Oh, but he gets caught up. Can't quite finish it off. Ozone's going to be the one to do it. Baller Steve answers with one back for Sanguine. I think through time and space clipped one and got him a kill here in this case. And now that important high ground's coming into place for Ozone. He's just firing down.
And this is actually a moment of rewinding it to the Drogos versus Eevee. If you ever wonder why we end up hyping up mid-air shots like that from a Drogos or an Eevee, that's why. They're so difficult to connect on. And when you look at it, it makes a big difference. But Ozone drops down right here. Hit scan players typically have the better matchup, and you could see throughout all of that. That's where Eevee, that's where those Drogos are going to be controlled and corralled, and that will determine the pace of the fight.
Yeah, I was looking at Sanguine's health bars thinking, all right, Zenith, this is your time to go. They were all so low, but Zenith is just so much lower right now. The healing finally coming through for both teams. Edgem's going to get a little bit out of combat regen for himself there. Not really in the line of sight of the Genos. Granted, you don't need to be. Good shots from Playtech are going to get rid of the Leon, but he's so low in the meantime, not able to sprint out of that one. Neo's just plugging away. He's in the back line now. They have to focus on so many different angles right now. Flame Spit's going to be good. Mage Monkey's going to be the last one standing here. The respawn's coming through, though. You have to be careful here. If you're on the side of Sanguine, you stagger these out too much and you lose too many members in the meantime. Could get tough. Does not get tough right now. 3-1 after a very good start from Zenith. Sanguine have answered back.
Zero tough at the very
Zero
end
tough.
there. 'Cause I believe what I saw was a 10-3 there for Edgem. And I'm actually going to give a shout out on the other side. Zenith, Playtech specifically, I feel like we've seen be very prominent on Shaolin. And
Yeah.
I think over the last few weeks, that's almost the only champion that I've seen him really play. Like, I think I've seen him branch off a couple of times, but Shaolin is the one that stood out to me. So
Nice.
him being able to come through, unfortunately getting, memed on for that one, but being able to come through, play this Victor, and have a decent performance in a matchup that is admittedly skewed in Sanguine's favor, it's pretty big. Unfortunately for them, you can see the slash lines aren't playing too
Baller
well.
Steve.
Everyone is super negative. But Toa is the one that I'm going to call out just because, unfortunately for him, 2-8 is not where you want your Eevee.
Yeah, it's been a tough go of things for the entire Zenith lineup. Ozone still managing a decent KDA. That's a good Void Grip. Able to blink right back out of it is Toa. I love the 6-2 and 18 on the Genos. I mean, you frequently see such high assists.
When you got to carry.
But a lot of, right, you got to carry it on the offense of your Genos there. The Enlightenment, a little bit reactionary, maybe trying to clip Toa on his way through. The barrage for Playtech, though, is going to be good for one kill. A setback sets up Playtech here. That's beautiful from Flame Effects. Playing the Atlas kit to a T. 36% for Sanguine, 46% for Zenith here. The overpower onto Neo, but the damage isn't really there right now. He's able to get himself out. He's going to trade out his life, but he gets so much chunk damage on Ozone. He has to play carefully.
And that creates an awkward scenario. Ozone has to go forward, does get some Aldama healing, so he's going to be able to get topped off and go back into the fight until incredibly low here. And there's enough hit scan pressure that is a scary fight to be in. Leon picks him off, and it's going to be 93 here for Zenith. That 78 is incredibly close from Sanguine.
Yeah, there was no direction really for Toa to go in that case. Left, right, center. They were all doomed from the start. Overtime now. Starting to go down. Playtech finds the first kill of this re-engagement, but Jalen Sanity answers back, especially onto Mage Monkey. That's big. Now Zenith don't have that same point pressure that they did just a moment ago. Playtech starting to go off just a little bit in this final fight. Ozone needs to stay alive. He's the only tanky, healthy player right now for Zenith until Mage Monkey's able to make it back. He's going so low. Playtech still alive, still firing away from the back line, but Neo, Edgem, they shut it down and get Sanguine the 4-1 victory. Very methodical.
And they did, I think, exactly what they needed to. Like, they were willing to try out a couple of things, like being able to bring in the Precision Leon and just showcase the differences between that. Like, that's the big playstyle shift, I think, right now that we're going to end up seeing is whether or not Leon gets picked up more after these changes is really the big question. Cassie's been favored above her, but she was banned. Imani's been favored above her, and she was banned. So if she's the only one left, yeah, she's good, but is she going to take any precedent?
Well, they're just dipping their toes in the water, but it looked very, very good here on map number 1. Let's send it back to the desk to hear what they think.
Well, Nick started off his analogy with dipping toes in the water, and Dave finished it, which means that we are fully full circle. And I think we can now start anew after game 1. And the new conversation is the new style of Leon. Edgem leading the damage. I was pretty shocked at seeing those numbers continue to rise and rise and rise, and because Precision has been bugged and it hasn't been working the way it was intended to work, now seeing it on display with Eminence gone, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, not only does it work properly, it got buffed as well, so very
nice
potent
shots,
there.
man.
You can see the damage scales up, and all of Leon's abilities are considered shots, regular old shots, except for presence, I believe, that doesn't apply cauterize. So the slides and your alternate fires are going to apply cauterizes on hit effects. And when your talent is an on hit effect, it's going to proc that too.
Now, one thing that I find makes this talent probably better than a lot of people had assumed initially is just the hard way to play around it. It's very difficult to understand what amount of damage he's going to be doing to you next because it's scaling. So although you just received a certain amount of damage and you have enough health to basically survive that amount of damage, more damage is coming through in a way that maybe you can't anticipate easily. So it's going to be getting used to feeling this type of, okay, here's the TTK, here's the time to kill for when a Leon is trying to finish me off using the precision talent. So it's going to take a minute. Dave did mention up a very funny story how me and him were playing Rocket Arena and we had actually gone up against Ozone and we had a banger of a match. But what he doesn't know is the next day I was playing Splitgate and I got up against Ozone again.
He's following you.
We were like, what is, and no, I'm not streaming. This is just my own time. So it was very funny. And now I'm casting him. Ozone, you got to get out of, like, what's happening here? Do we need to go to lunch? Do we have to, do a thing? Hit me with a DM. If something's up, let me know. I'm here for you.
Form up and follow me in.
There it is, folks. Khan will be first picked. Ash grabs second there for Team Zenith. Those bans are pretty much the same outside of the Atlas being the swap here, and Zenith are going to go ahead and scoop up their Eevee.
Yeah, I mean, the Eevee, again, just something people are going to so consistently. Genos, wow, it's a pretty expected pick, but it's just so damaging when you see it next to Khan. You think, man, this is a very hard lineup to beat. Leon's still available. It's something Edgem used, but clearly not prioritizing more than the secondary tank for Sanguine.
Right, that I think comes down to, has anybody else been in the lab with Leon? Is anyone else prepared to play anything else? I was mentioning, I don't think that Eminence is going to be unviable now. I think it's going to be harder to pull off. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot more in your loadout. And you're going to have to get those eliminations to get the full resets. You're not going to be able to just be popping that thing, 2-3 times in a fight without getting an elimination.
Interesting to note, Sanguine, for me, if you're looking at not Zenith, but maybe Na'Vi on this side, interesting to choose the Inara there in that position. Obviously, waiting to see if the snipers would get picked up because they have the final 2, and they wanted to save those for DPS picks. But a lot of times we see the Barret kind of work well with Genos, more so than the Inara. That's more of like a Damba pairing that you're used to.
Yeah, maybe just feeling more comfortable with it.
Probably
Frog Isle, there's really nothing that Inara brings that Barret. I think they're both like, kind of tit for tat here, so feels like player preference.
Well, at this point, Zenith, they're going to grab the Damba at the end. It's an Eevee and a Strix versus a Kinessa and a Drogos, champions that want to maybe stay back, but the flanking potential of Drogos is there. Do you think Zenith have a lineup that can do it? Seems like they got to perform pretty highly.
It feels like I said, I think tit for tat across the way, both ways, except for Drogos and Eevee. Those are the two big kind of differences, a flanker versus guys looking to kind of float around in the trees. It's very much a domino effect of if Strix dies, then Drogos can do his things, but if he doesn't, then yada, yada, yada.
All right, well, let's see if that yada, yada, yada continues as Dave and Gore get ready to cast.
Appreciate it, fellas. We're going to have to see which way the dominoes start to tumble in this one. Frog Isle is a map, Gore, that we've seen go very, very quickly in some cases. Some of the fastest 4-0s, I think, have happened on Frog Isle. Pretty notable 4-0 was Kanga against, was it Na'Vi this week? They went to Frog Isle and just crushed
And it was
Na'Vi.
that very odd, like, one map out where it was just like, huh. That's like,
okay.
You guys are very, very good at Frog Isle, as we have learned. And this one's going to be an interesting one just because when it comes down to it, you've kind of got a triangle that comes through where it's Edgem versus Strix, and then Strix versus Edgem, but also Strix versus Drogos. Like, you have to look in 2 places if you're Drogos. And Eevee almost comes into, I don't want to say as a non-factor, but you're not as worried about her, I think, right now if you're a damage dealer on Sanguine. You're looking for this sniper.
Right.
Because if you're Edgem, he's your biggest threat. And if you're Drogos, he's your biggest threat. And if he's just off the board, all of a sudden you have free damage, free reign.
And another interesting thing to look at, I feel like we haven't seen a true sniper versus sniper Frog Isle in a minute. Edgem starting to light up some members of Zenith. Unfortunately, that's the matchup we were looking at, Playtech versus Edgem. You have to be able to eliminate the other sniper, or at least put some pressure on him. Playtech does just that, but Flame Effect's getting so aggressive. really only Mage Monkey left on the point right now. Sanguine looking like they're poised to take point number 1 if they're not able to get a touch. The shoulder bash is going to go right into Flame Effects. Neo is going to get some damage in as well. Point number 1 going over the way of Sanguine. Sort of digressing to my point, we haven't. I feel like we haven't seen like Kinessa Strix picked through both in the same game in a minute on Frog Isle. Normally one is banned and the other gets picked, or both are banned, or neither of them end up getting picked. I feel like I haven't seen sort of the sniper duel in a minute.
A lot of those flex bans, like that one spot that you're willing to be like, okay, well maybe we'll let Genos through.
Right.
That's where we've been seeing Kinessa or Strix get banned, and a lot of times either teams will ban both of them out and try to opt for every front line's going to be available, or they'll ban one and then it forces you into the decision. Do we grab the first pick, this first sniper, let them have it? Some teams opt for it, some teams don't. And again, the biggest thing for this that normally would make it go, I think, is if Playtech hits 2 headshots, or just a headshot and a body shot, he's going to be able to come through. The downside is Edgem, with this steady aim talent, like with the bonus damage he's going to get from shot to shot, and a Luminary, means that a headshot onto the Strix is as good as a kill.
Yep.
And so when you get that kind of scenario, and you have Drogos not playing out in the open, you have Drogos playing ramp side with the con, there's almost too much pressure on Playtech to perform at such a high level, especially because, I mean, Toa's 0-4-0. Like, he's not able to get
Tough
past
couple of games.
that con Drogo's wall that is there. So you're locked down. You have to be the guy that gets the kill.
True.
And he did it once, but unfortunately it wasn't able to snowball into anything.
Right. I mean, Playtech's good for top damage in the game right now, which is impressive considering how much pressure is coming up against his team here for Zenith. A couple of the frontliners as well throwing their name into that, but that's pretty telling as well. 50,000 healing for Baller Steve. Of course, the H streak, he's been able to stay alive through all of these fights, which of course allows his healing to persist through it all.
Ballin', you could say.
He is ballin'. He is ballin' big, Gore. And it's paying off very well. Through Time and Space comes out, does not find any targets just yet on this one. Edgem does get plugged away, and that's what you were referencing is you know, one shot from Strix. Edgem now has to back off and just get out of the fight entirely. Dread Serpent goes flying, doesn't look like it catches any targets just yet. 54% though for Zenith to start things off here.
There's going to be a wall, though, and Ara's going to move on in. And Dragon Punch comes through and retreats, and I like the call because, again, this is actually a drastically different round from Zenith. Eevee has been able to have a little bit more of an impact, but now they're looking to swing it around pretty hard. With Ozone gone, you lose pretty much all ramp control that you could have, all statue control you could have on this map. And so at 85%, it's a big number, and it means a lot for Sanguine to have to stand on the objective, but I don't think it's going to get them where they want it.
Neo, I was going to say, we've been talking about the snipers so heavily in this one, but Neo just had a beautiful series of plays right there. A salvo hits the Damba almost entirely, nearly gets him killed off, but if nothing else, it gets the Damba out of the fight, has to have him back off. So that's well played there from Neo, getting some kills as well. 99% now for Sanguine, flying up high. The salvos have just been so good. Flame Effects continuing to play aggressively. Gets a double kill onto the con. Neo adds another one to his belt. It looks like Sanguine are going to go up 3-0. 5 minutes into this one here on Frog Isle.
And this is the kind of play style that you get from a Drogos that has played against snipers on this map. Like, this is Neo with, like, experience behind of where is this Strix going to stand, how is this Eevee going to play, and how do I get out of this scenario? Not only alive, but with kills. Like, being able to knock people off the map. Like, this is something you get when it's, like, your 400th Frog Isle game on Drogos. And, like, that's the reason it looks so smooth, and he's playing it, like, kind of low down to the ground. Like, I think a lot of people, especially with the changes to Worm Jets, got used to seeing Drogos in the air. But Combustible on this map in this scenario is the perfect call.
Well, it's definitely different right here where you don't have so much of the tree cover. I mean, you're basically free flying up with not a lot of cover. But right now...
Free flying.
No, I was just going to let you take that one and run. I was going to add in, but you know what? Gore, you did it justice, and that's all that I can ask for. Sanguine looking like they're going to get this one rolled through here. Only the Ice Storm, Dread Serpent soon to be around, but 3 pretty important ultimates for Sanguine, almost 4 with the Overpower. Down comes the Assert and Dominance, but right out of it, there's the Overpower. Edgem, Neo, Flame Effects, each with 1. Valen Sanity even make it. Oh no! I was hoping Baller Steve would get the through Time and Space kill. Make it 1 for everyone in that one, but Sanguine, we talked about fast Frog Isle games. That was about as fast as you can get. A 4-0 there for Sanguine. didn't skip a beat.
They pulled out a clipboard with a checkbox at the very end. They were just like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got all the kills. Okay, guys, roll it on in.
Yep.
Everything's set. We are
They had one of those airplane
done and
guys
dusted,
with
like, bring it on.
Come on in here.
I wish we had a skin with that as an emote, because that would be used so often.
Yeah.
And it would be so funny to have someone standing at the end of the payload run just doing that.
just bringing it in there towards the end. Sanguine looking even a little bit cleaner somehow in game number 2. They take the Frog Isle win here. Let's send it back to Evan and Nick on the desk.
Thanks, guys. Sanguine looking good as usual, and it's time to get ready for not only Game 2's post-game, but Game 3, because this could close it all out. Frog Isle was fast. That's how it usually is. No fear at all with the Knessa and the Drogos.
No, definitely not. Played the combustible style from NIU. It's a very safe style. Still top damages on Frog Isle. That's what's impressive. But you've got pressure elsewhere on the map. You look at Flame Effects. You look at Jalen's Sanity. 8-1, 2-0 on these frontliners, doing just as much damage as in Knessa. That is pressure from 4 sources, and that's very difficult to stop with combining luminaries.
I definitely don't mind the kind of like way they were trying to draft Zenith. I mean, they picked the Eevee, they picked the Sniper. I think the really great decision from Sanguine was to go with the basically the combustible. It almost worked like a pressure in the back line without having to get there.
Doesn't have to take the risks, doesn't have to keep his head exposed for a long period of time. We talked about, running Drogos into a sniper is very difficult to do, especially on Frog Isle where the skybox is so open. But if you're able to just kind of prairie dog, shoot your spit out, only be exposed for a couple of seconds, only really needing to take 1 shot, worst case scenario, you stay alive and you top damage the game like Neo.
Well, Splitstone Quarry is our potential final map here of the North American Minor League. Actually, no, not of the North American Minor League. This is just starting the North American Minor League. We just finished the European Minor League. I was saying this is time to finish a minor league, but it's not. We just are starting. So a little reminder, we do have Nation of Power and Bork coming up after this set is over, and it could be over if they win this matchup on the side of Sanguine. Taking a look at the bans, it's no Atlas available this time around, but Khan will be going most likely to Zenith here, first pick.
Cassie's been banned all set long, so that's something that Sanguine might look to scoop for NIU. Splitstone Quarry, the pick is good, and I think maybe not that Bomb King is bad, but I think Cassie's going to do Neo a little bit better here on Splitstone Quarry, poking from a lot of different ranges. Bomb King can struggle if he gets into those like outer open fights, having a long range to shoot at. He really wants to sit in that mid to close range, whereas Cassie can really do close range to really almost long range well if you can aim.
Yeah, it's a great pick for Neo as well. He's just been doing it for so long, so effectively, kind of pioneering Exaction Cassie back in when it was not really, it was just gone, and kind of bringing it back for a lot of people to see the value of it. And Nara, again, prioritized. It gives Zenith the ability this time to counter-pick their last 2 DPS champions. Sanguine, they'll grab their tank, most likely their support here, and leave a flex for a DPS at the end.
But what will they grab? Maldamba is open, so that seems like an easy way to go. Or, excuse me, not open anymore. Genos banned away. So going to the Ying, and we talk a lot about how normally only OG supports are really feeling comfortable enough to run that, though. So I'm curious to see what Sanguine are able to do with it.
Oh, the Strix, the sniper, right back at it. Wants another one. Says, run it back. Okay. So I like the confidence. I like the decision-making. Bomb King for Toa. It's a good, beefy lineup. Strix is going to give backline pressure. They're going to have to get there, but luckily Sanguine have a DPS selection to round this out, and they're going to grab the Eevee, anticipating something like this might be happening.
Perfect pick for the situation. You can really, really dominate Splitstone if you have control of the skies and of up-down mobility, of which Eevee checks both boxes.
All right, well, this is the lineup, Nick. Who you giving favor to? Do you think Sanguine's going to close it out?
Yeah, I love the last pick, Eevee. I think that's going to do really, really well in shutting the Strix down.
All right, well, let's send it down to your casters and get ready for Game 3 here on Splitstone.
Down into Splitstone we go. Sanguine looking like they're poised to take this one 3-0. We've had a pretty quick day up to this point, Gore.
Yeah.
2 fast ones in set number 1. 2 fast ones so far here in set number 2. I'll levy the same question to you that Evan levied to Nick. Do Sanguine take it here? Do they close it out?
I think so. I think consistency is what their lineup has a little more. I feel like Zenith, the Strix is really good on this map, but I think Cassie is going to be able to perform, again, overall, anywhere that they want to go forward. And of course, Eevee has just been huge on this map in the past. And
Behind you.
It's going to make it look good.
Oh, no. Neo was looking for the flank. Just tried to sniff out Playtech. Does get a little bit of damage through, but that's the matchup I'm watching, is how can Neo make Playtech's life as obnoxious as possible. I mean, look at that.
Like
you can't keep up with that. Neo flies in. Good for first blood in this one. Zenith were on the point, 66%, but there's so many of them grouped up right now. If Sanguine get aggressive, this could go very heavily in the wrong direction. And that's looking like exactly what's going to happen. They force him off. They force him back. They're just going to put one guy on the point, and the rest of them are going to go back into the base of Team Zenith here. And that's what you got to look for, is Neo getting up in the face of Playtech, especially on these offensive pushes if they end up capturing this point, because Strix, I wouldn't say he's as good on the defensive stand as he is here with the inherent high ground.
Definitely not. And this is actually like the big downside of it, right? The one thing that Sanguine have is that Cassie is going to be consistent the entire time. That 75 health is a dangerous game to be playing. You're going to watch, now with that blink up, you're going to be able to heal going in, heal coming out, but you don't even need to go out. You're just going to be able to come in, take the place of Strix, just kind of come in and stand literally on top of his dead body and find shots off of his position.
Oh my, Neo. He's not missing a shot just as of yet. Nearly gets taken out just prior, 75 health, heals himself back up. I was kind of saying, I almost feel for Playtech in this scenario, because that is so annoying to play against, I'm sure, where it's like, all right, I just want to sit up top, find some damage for my team. Instead, I have to deal with the Eevee blinking in every once in a while. Just when you think Neo's gone, he's still in the back line. He's gotten the better of it so far.
And that's the strength of Sanguine's draft, right? I mean, that's a 10th pick Eevee. That comes in at the very end, and it's just one of those moments where a lot of teams, especially in the Premier League, have been prioritizing her. And I think this is just another good showcase as to why she can come through and why snipers have kind of disappeared from Splitstone in these past few weeks. It's just because if they get an Eevee, which, again, has been huge, you just can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only finding damage on anyone on Zenith, but it's effectively eliminating one of the champions that they can play, unless we did see an example of Playtech nearly getting the better of one of those 1v1s. Didn't happen totally, but got him down to 75 health. Toa just kind of teeing off here from the high ground. They don't have the answer for it just yet. Half health, though, he has to be careful. There's the answer. Jalen Sanity on the barrack is going to be the one to pick up the phone and find the answer here. Playtech, as I say, the defense is a little bit harder for the Strix. Does find a kill to stall things out here, but with 60 seconds left, the kills are still going red here. But the respawns are coming through for Zenith.
I mean, they're doing whatever they can. That's actually going to be a big kill on Edgem. But they step off or get knocked off by the Ash. Just enough that even that double kill from Playtech, as flashy as it can be, results in not necessarily meaning that much as it comes down to a 2-0.
I mean, look at the slash lines on Sanguine. It's Neo, the back line, the flanker, blinking in and blinking out, and then also 5 and 1 from Flame Effect. So you are getting pummeled on the front line, and that's where your eyes are turned, and then you get pummeled on the back line as well. The two ideal members of Sanguine to start going off this game are definitely doing it up to this point.
Yeah.
Only 4 kills in that first round for Zenith. All of them for Playtech on the Strix. I mean, what is there an answer here? I mean, how do you deal with this if you're the Strix? I mean, you have the silhouette, but do you just kind of accept your fate and hope you can do damage in the meantime?
Honestly, I think that's all you can do, because the only other option they really have is leave Bomb King back with him, but then you give up so much ground where you're supposed to win the fight that it almost falls apart. And that's part of the reason, again, snipers have disappeared from this map because flanks can bully them really hard. And part of the reason Cassie's been really big, because she fills that kind of pseudo role. Same thing for Leon, the same thing for Amani, which both have been picked up more often than Strix for essentially this reason you're watching Cassie right now. They can also fight down here.
And this is another guy, he's had a quiet game up to this point, but still true to the Cassie name, just pouring out damage, and he's doing it onto exactly who they need him to. Top damage in the game for Edgem in this case. Sanguine retake the point, similar fashion to what they just did. Zenith were on the point first. Sanguine with a well-timed fight, retake it. Beautiful shots from Edgem. We're talking about Eevee, we're talking about flame effects on the Ash. Can't forget about Edgem on his Cassie.
And that first shot that he hit as the Strix rounded the corner, Strix was in stealth if I saw correctly, and it was just that timing-wise, okay, he's up the ramp, fire that shot, and like, you are one hit away from death. Edgem like being able to pull in an impressive turnaround for that fight, because it looked like it should have gone one way.
There's Toa, though. He's staying alive. He found the first kill in this one. Finds the first kill yet again. Neo, though, is going to clean it up, answering back. Blaster taking on Blaster. Neo getting the better end of that one. Mage Monkey, though, Playtech, Ozone, all of them are kind of retaking this point. Overtime ticks away, and Zenith, they weasel themselves back into this one. A very close point fight goes the way of blue. And now they're pushing to tie, but Sanguine, they're defending to go up 3-1. That's a scary gap to have here on Splitstone.
This is the moment where how Playtech positions is probably going to be the biggest. We've seen a couple of different spots for snipers. Right now he's still hanging down a little low, but expect him to move to the high ground, kind of stand up on the catwalks, the balconies, whatever you want to call them, whenever they come through. But it's going to be crucial for moments like this. Like, how much damage do you get onto the Cassie? How much damage do you get on the Eevee when she's flying around? Onto these front lines to help your team continue their push forward.
And this is, I mean, it's a tough place to be. I mean, when you're going into the point fight, you get the high ground automatically just because you can jump up the ramp, but fighting as a Strix up from the low ground is tough. He did a good job plugging away some shots onto the Ying there from Sanguine, but couldn't really get himself maybe as involved as he had hoped to. Sanguine, as I like to say, have drawn their line in the sand. Here is where we're not going to let you pass. Minute and 20 seconds, though. Still plenty of time for Zenith to get back through. Neo continuing to be a nuisance on this Eevee. Just funny, every time, and this is what you would hope for on an Eevee, but every time we switch, it's like switching around, flying around, blinking around, turning around the heads of Zenith, playing this champion exactly how it needs to be played, finding some damage into the backs of Toa here, finding the kill, I should say. Zenith already lose 2 in this one.
And of course now with Neo being able to come around, Edgem is the one cleaning up the kills. Baller Steve even putting his name on the list. But the 3 of them essentially playing in such an aggressive style and kind of bouncing around in the right areas where, again, if you're Zenith, where do you look? Are you looking for the payload? Are you trying to defend your front lines? Are you trying to defend your support?
There's too much going on.
Or are you trying to defend yourself? Like, there's just so much, going on around you, flashing by. That's very difficult to choose a single target. And that's what Sanguine have done. They've diversified themselves very well to make it so that you can't... I mean, even if you get rid of one of them, it's not going to be enough. I mean, this payload's been sitting in pretty much the exact same spot.
Yep.
And it started with an Eevee pick. Like, they were fighting a 4v5 the entire time it came around this corner. And it's just not been enough to push forward.
I mean, especially now at this point, overtime effectively is on the board here. If Sanguine win a clean fight, this one will be over. Starting off with a kill onto Playtech and to Toa. Now the damage dealers are just gone. You have a little bit from the con, but Neo's in the backline there. The blast shot off the wall is going to be good. The healer is going to be next. It looks like Zenith have found themselves a successful defense. 1 more point to take our second set of the day. 4 streaked out members of Sanguine. You have to give a nod to Baller Steve. Love me a support that goes deathless up to this point. 1-0-15, 16 streak for him. 3-1-10, 8-2-7, 12-4-7, 7-4-11. Too many people to look at, I think, on the side of Sanguine. They're just sort of overpowering, in every sense of the word, Team Zenith right now.
And looking at the slash lines, looking at how many people are positive and how many people are having an impact, and especially when you look at the damage numbers, when, I mean, Cassie's pulled away, not quite 20,000 ahead of the next highest, which is the Strix on the other side, but you're looking at everyone being positive, 4 of them doing enough damage that they are considerably a threat to your team, if you're looking at it from Zenith's perspective. And Zenith has Playtech. Yep. Like, that's really who's in right now. And so if you're Sanguine, who do you kill first? Who do I have to go for? Okay, well, Eevee's over here. Maybe she's easy to kill. Okay, no, never mind. She got away. Like, there's just so much that can go wrong for you versus Zenith where you just get this.
That was a nice play there. Nice. Wouldn't really call it a flank because he just kind of ran right up through the middle off to the side there. They assert dominance onto the high ground. Forces Playtech to go down. That's maybe more important than anything else is getting him out of position so a guy like Edgem there can come through, get the kill. The overpower, did it not? I thought it was going towards the lava. I didn't quite see. I blinked right at the important moment there. And Edgem with the double, Neo with the double. Only Playtech back and respawn now. Looks like Sanguine are going to capture themselves point number 4. Did you see what happened on the overpower there?
I believe that's what we like to call resilience at work. Resilience comes through, and one of the things it does is, again, it reduces CC, but that also includes like time that you're in the air when you're being thrown or knocked back or anything like that. Like, if you get Resilience 3 and Khan like grabs you and throws you over his head, you almost fall right behind him. Like, he's not throwing you very far. You're just going to land, and then you turn around, and it's like, okay, cool, there's Khan. And that's kind of the same thing. Like, you get thrown, but you don't get thrown as hard. Like, you just drop. So
That's
theoretically,
tough.
there's like an arc that you could shoot at somewhere if you have like your compass, your calculator, like everything set up, and you know, like 30 minutes of time to calculate it out perfectly. But
True.
9 times out of 10, you're gonna be like, cool, grab, shoot. Oh no, he dropped.
Maybe it wouldn't have
Like a
changed
bowling
anything
ball.
anyway. Exactly like a bowling ball. Maybe it wouldn't have changed anything anyway. Sanguine with the 3-0 here in set number 2. Send it back to Evan and Nick on the desk to break this one down.
Thanks, guys. 3-0 for Sanguine. That'll end the first set of our North American Paladins minor league action. We still got one more set coming up. But as you can see here in the post-game stats, things looking good for Sanguine. Niu, Ejim popping off, and Niu on the EV a lot more successful than when Zenith tried to pull that off against Sanguine.
14-4 with and it's almost impressive to have that type of KD with such a minimal amount of damage. Like even one of his frontliners have more damage.
Efficient.
Niju's moving around like a surgeon in the backline, just removing people, not missing shots, not really going for a lot of poke, maybe collapsing on some of these poked out targets. In fact, Niu does a great job at displaying what EV can do, what EV should do when not contested by any other flanks or any other real hit scan threats.
And what's great is that, you know, just hitting shots. I mean, that's the impact, just hitting shots. I mean, you see all these clips, he's just hitting every single shot, and that's the big difference. And you don't talk about Paladins being the mechanical game, the game that, you know, it's all out-aim, you know, and however, it matters when you can bring that to the table as well as doing the right things with the champions. And that's what Niu is able to do very, very well. That is going to close out this set. Of course, we do have more coming up for you in just a little bit. We're going to switch out some casters and, of course, some desk analysts as well. We'll be right back with more Paladins minor league action. Don't go anywhere.
The Paladins Minor League, brought to you by Skillshot, Hi-Rez, Evil Mojo, INAP, Steel Series, and Respawn.